Okay, good. All right. So, as I was saying, good morning, everybody. So, I will begin with a couple of announcements. So let's get started. Okay. So let me begin with some announcements. So I hope you are able to see my screen. Okay. So the first thing is, so on Tuesday, October 13th, we will have quiz 2. And then the week after that, in the week of October 19th to October 23rd, I'm yet to hear from the admin, but there will be a midterm somewhere here. So the syllabus is basically, if you are, there are two books that we are referring, right? So Sheldon Ross. So this is going to be chapter 1 and 2. So some things we have not covered in chapter 1 and 2, like moment generating functions. Okay. So these things are not there. Whatever I have not covered is not there. Okay. Then limit theorems and all these things are there in chapter 2, which is not tested. And if you are following the other book, I mean, I recommend you see both the textbooks. So the other book is Bertsika's Sitsikilis, that book. So this one will be chapter 1, 2, and 3. And this will be the basic probability axioms, discrete random variable and continuous random variable. So I know that some portions I have not covered yet, but you have been watching the videos. So I will try to cover as much of it this week. So I will make a few videos to finish chapter 2 this week. So I will make offline recordings and I will share it with you. So that will cover chapter 2. Chapter 3, you have been seeing the videos, but I will also do additional videos next week. So I'm hoping that it is October 19 to 23rd, but we haven't heard yet. But it's going to be, it has been announced long time back. So I think it's going to be somewhere in this. Anyway, the format will be, there will be 3 parts of this thing. The first one will be objective questions. The second one, you will have to like take pictures. Okay, so this will be full questions. So you have to submit your camera photos. Okay, so then part 3, we will have Python questions. Okay, so the timing roughly right now I'm thinking this will be yeah, so we will have this one will be 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. This will be 45 minutes roughly, and this will be 1.5 hours. Okay, so what I will do is all the entire class will be divided into 3 parts, and each part will do one of the things first. So if someone is doing objective questions, somebody will be starting with Python programming. Okay, and these Python questions will be based on very similar to whatever you have been doing in your assignments. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions via email, or if you want to ask something now, you can ask. So quiz 2 will be next week on Tuesday at the end of the class. So this will cover basically whatever we cover till today, and chapter 2 from So discrete random variables, basically discrete random variables, which we will finish this week. All right. So
the 1, 2, 3, the Roman numeral ones, that's for the mid semester, right?
this is for mid semester. Yes. So, sorry for the. So this is all for mid sem. This is mid sem. Okay. So this is about the quiz 2. This is quiz 2. Any other questions?
Sir, not a question, but a query regarding the assignment 2, which we have to submit on 14th of October.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, while solving the problems, if we get stuck and we usually refer to some papers online, right? So can we use can we use something from the paper? Like, are we allowed to use the online papers, or are we supposed to do that? Like,
No,
without...
if you are looking at some material and trying to understand that through online material, but you have to understand it yourself, because if I find that you don't know what you have written, then at some point, if I do ask in a form of Viva or something, and if you're not able to answer, then we will have to penalize for that. So
Yeah, sure, sir.
yeah,
I'm
you
just
have to you
just
have to
for the
understand.
reference and understanding stuff.
Yeah, you have to understand it completely. Then of course you can use it.
And also, do we have to mention the source that we have used this from this source or something of that sort?
Not necessary, but if you do write it, it's okay. It is good that we will know what sources you are seeing. So yeah, I think you can write it if it's optional, but you can write it. I think it will be useful.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so let's just then go back to the course. So yeah, so I would remind you all that class participation is an important element. So we have been keeping record of students who are taking part during the class, people who are asking questions via email or something like that. So try to engage in the class. So that's useful for you in the long run too. If your connection is bad and if you cannot ask questions live, you can always email us. Okay, so that is also acceptable. And those students.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can we please have the marks distribution for Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3? Marks distribution.
Okay, marks distribution is that. So yeah, let me just think about it and discuss with the TA, and I will announce it before the end of this week. Okay, so I will tell you before this week.
Okay, sir.
All right. So as I was saying, don't struggle with the material yourself. If something is not clear, you're not following anything, or some questions you have, you email us, participate, or ask it in the classrooms. I hope there is a forum in the classroom, so you can ask there. So yeah, all those things will count towards your class participation. Okay. Yeah, so that's about it. So then let's get started. And somehow I've noticed that even the attendance I'm looking, and some students are consistently missing classes. So it is usually a problem, and it is even more problem in a scenario like this where everything is happening online and the efficacy of class is itself reduced so much. All right, so do not miss classes, because you see, we typically do this thrice a week. These classes are 3 hours per week, but we are only doing 2 hours per week so as to not cause fatigue to you. But you do need to attend these 2 hours, and then you do need to work on your own. So there is more responsibility on you to learn this material. Okay. So do attend classes, do ask questions and all this. All right. So let's continue. So yesterday we began a new concept. So we have been discussing discrete random variables. So yesterday I was talking about jointly distributed random variables. Okay, and what we are going to have here is basically a question like this. So an example that we took yesterday was you consider X, which is like family income, So this takes three values. Okay, x of omega takes three values, 1, 2, and 3. See, omega is a set of 100 randomly chosen citizens, let's say. Okay, so and x was a family income, so we said that you can think of it as three categories. So low income, middle income, and high income, right? This is what we were discussing yesterday. And similarly, we looked at another random variable, which is y of omega, which is education level of that citizen. So something like we said, okay, this could be thought of as less than or equal to 10th. This can be thought as graduate. Okay, and then we can think of this other one as postgraduate. So something like this we thought of, and then we were looking at how some experiment like this, if you do it in the streets of a country, how do the numbers look? So towards that, we just drew a box like this. Okay, so here there is x and here there is y. So then what typically happens is x and y are very related. So there is a strong dependence between x and y. So they take values which are something like this, right? So lower values of x will cause lower values of y, and something like this. Okay. So I have just put in some numbers so that this sums to 100. So now when we have like this, then we were saying that the same ideas that you have been doing for like a single random variable, right? So what we defined for a single random variable was PMF. Okay, so what we said was Px of small x. Okay, small x being a particular value that the capital X random variable takes. We said this is the probability that the random variable x takes a value equal to small x. Okay, so this is what we did. So the same idea can be generalized to a multiple random variable PMF. So how we do that is we just draw, like we just note down all possible values of x and y, and then we just start filling in this. So 1, 1. So I'm at the moment writing every possible ways in which these x and y's can happen. Okay, then instead of having a single PMF, we can have a joint PMF, which is Pxy of x comma y. X comma y being values, and the values x comma y can take could be 2, 1, 1, 3, or 2, 3, or so on. This is by definition, okay, like the same way how we define PMF to be this. This is the by definition probability that x is equal to small x, okay, and y is equal to y. Okay, so when we talk about P of xy of 1, 1, we are talking about this location here. Okay, so 60% of the population is in that. So this is 0.6. Okay, so we can start filling these values. So this is x 0.6 and x equal to 1, 1, 2, 3, y equal to 2. That is 0.05, 0.05, and 2, 1. 2, 1 is 0.05 again. 2, 2 is 0.1. 2, 3 is 0.03. 3, 1 is 0.05, 0.02, and this. Okay. So now, like we had before, so what we had before was summation of Px of small x, where x you allow to take all possible values x can take, the capital random variable x can take. This was giving value 1. The same way, just by definition, when you sum over all possible values of x and y's together in all possible ways, you are going to get 1. So this is going to be sum over all x, sum over all y, px comma y of small x, small y. This will sum to 1. So this is what we began discussing yesterday. Okay, and now we will try to develop some things around this. So, okay, so let me know if you have any questions so far. Okay, so now we will do some small checks. So now if you want to find out, let's try to do something like, what is the probability that X, so now even though this is a joint random variable, there are two things involved. I can still ask the question, what is Px of 1? Okay, which is like I'm asking among all these population, how many of people have education level of 1? So if you see here, this is 60 and 5 and 5. All right, there are totally 70. The entire population is 100. So this is 0.7. Okay, but you can also compute this in this following manner. What you can do, you can ask is like probability that X is equal to 1, but I will sum over all possible values of capital Y. Okay, so that will also give me the answer. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what essentially I'm saying is all people with low income either have low education, which is Y equal to 1, or they will have medium education or Y equal to 2, or they will have high education or Y equal to 3. Okay, so that is how we get this sum. So likewise, we can also ask some other question like Py of 2. Okay, so we are here asking what is the proportion of people who are having graduate degrees. So that is actually the sum of these three entries if you want to do it directly. But if you want to use a similar idea that we did for Px of 1, this is also equal to, you take sum of all the small x, little x, okay, over all possible values, and then you fix the y to the desired point. And this is also a way in which you can get this. So this idea of getting a single variable PMF is called marginalization. Okay, so yeah, so okay, so this is just to make the notation clear. So the first one, so second one, this is actually equal to sum over all x, okay, Px comma y of x comma 2. Similarly, this is equal to sum is there over all y, okay, Px comma y of 1 comma y. Okay, so the marginalization formula is this: Px of some value, let us say x, is equal to sum over all y. Okay, you fix the x in question and then sum over all possible y's. Similarly, Py of small y is you sum over all x's that can take, that the random variable x can take. Are there any questions so far? So this is called marginals. These things are called marginal PMFs or marginals. Okay. All right. So if there are no questions, let me just continue to discuss this a little more in detail. So working from the same example. Okay, so now, so we have been learning, yeah, so this other formula we had seen before, right? So let's talk about this other thing. So when we had in a single random variable, in a single random variable case, okay, so we had basically a formula for expectation of g of x, right? So this was g of x, p x, x, you take sum over all possible values that x can take. So similarly, now in the case of jointly distributed random variables, suppose you have z, which is equal to g of x comma y. Okay. So what is this? So g is a function from R2, okay, to R, which is, and I'm calling that function as z. Now for this, in the same manner as how we did for single random variable, we can analogously define what is the expectation of z. Okay, so that is going to be expectation of g of x comma y by definition, and this is basically I have to sum over all the x small x, this is small x, sorry, small x belonging to x omega, sum over all the y. Okay, I'm going to run out of space. Let me just make some space for myself. So this is going to be g of x comma y, p x comma y, xy. Okay, same idea that we had here. That is what we are doing. Okay, and how do you prove this? So how to prove this? So what you need to do is, like, you have to see, okay, what is the range of what is the possible value z of omega takes. You have to first identify this set, then you have to then draw the PMF of this, of the z, and then you have to show that expectation of z you can reorganize to get this. Okay, that's the proof for this. You will see this in the textbook, the Burtsikas textbook. So it's a straightforward proof. This we have done for the single random variable. We are just doing it over here. All right. Okay, so this is about the single random variable. This functions of joint random variable. Okay, so let me just talk about the next important topic here. Okay, so now we will talk about, so since there are now two random variables, we can talk about conditioning. So what does that mean? So let me also copy this. Sorry. Okay, so let's try to understand what is the meaning of conditioning. So we know this already in the context of events, but in the case of with the random variables, how we can understand conditioning, we can think of. So now suppose you want to ask the question that if the education level is 0, okay, so that means so x was education level, is it? Or what was it? So I don't remember. X was income, sorry. So if my question is like, suppose if you want to understand, ask questions like, how does family income, okay, affect education? Okay, so then what we need to do is we have to compare between education, between family incomes. So what that means is I have to fix x equal to 1, and then I have to talk how does y look when x is equal to 1. I have to look at how y looks when x is equal to 2. How does y look when x equal to 3? So these are now, this is not the same random variable y. In this random variable y here, we are only looking at the education level when the family income is 1. Okay, so this is it's a restricted universe. So this universe has only low income. So that is what we have to do. And now we can actually understand this quite easily. So what we can do is, like in the restricted universe, we have to ask what's the probability that each of these things happen. So what are the possible values y given x equal to 1 takes? So y can take 1, 2, and 3 as usual. And then we can ask what's the probability that y is equal to this small y given x equal to 1. Okay. So x equal to 1, the total number of people are 70. Okay. Right. 60 plus 5 plus 5. So what is the probability that y is equal to 1 amongst this group? Yes. What is the probability? Anybody? Six over 7. Okay. So that is correct. This is 6 over 7. What you are doing is you are looking at the people with y equal to 1 in the restricted universe. So the restricted universe is just this group. Okay. So 6 over 7, and this is 1 over 14 and 1 over 14. Okay. And now this is also a random variable because y is allowed to take numerical values. Now this probability here is called as a conditional PMF. So conditional PMF y of x equal to 1 of small y. Okay. So of small y. So this is going to be the same thing as before, right? So what is this? So this is the probability that y is equal to small y given x equal to 1, right? So let me just explain this a little bit in detail. Now, what is this? So this is, we have seen this definition before, right? So probability that y is equal to 1, x equal to 1 and x equal to 1 divided by probability that x equal to 1. Okay. So what is this? This is nothing but your, in terms of what you already know, this is the joint PMF of the two random variables divided by the PMF of x. Okay. So this is the general formula. So P of y given x equal to x of y, the general formula is Pxy of x comma y divided by Px of small x. Okay, so this should remind you of the conditional probability definition also, right? So that is P of AB divided by P of B. So it's very similar to that. And the reason it is similar is because the definition is like this. So during this course, you will find that there are a lot of these formulas that keep coming in. And every formula that you see, you should not memorize. You can just understand it. And it's not that difficult. It all builds upon the axioms of probability. Okay, if you find that you have to remember some formula, that means you have not understood the subject well. So you have to keep rereading till you understand this in an intuitive level. All right. So yeah. So then, okay, so this is conditioning. So let's do a small application of conditioning now. So let's talk about geometric random variable once again. Okay. So in the geometric random variable, what is the setup? So what was the setup? Perform Somebody has a question? Amna?
No, sir. Actually, I have a small question, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, we were discussing about this joint PMFs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this X and Y both need to have the same distribution, or they can have different. I mean, one
Yeah,
can
yeah.
follow geometric, one can follow by.
Yeah,
Is
it
that-
can happen. Yeah, that is permissible. That can happen. There is no necessity. So in the example that I chose, X was taking 1, 2, and 3, but Y was taking also 1, 2, and 3. But it can be like 5, 6, and 7 as well. There is no restriction like that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Any other question? Okay, so let's come back. So now let's just take a small recap. Okay, so we have been discussing jointly distributed random variables, and what we have seen so far is the idea of marginalization, which is like you're summing over all the other variable that you are not marginalizing over. You're marginalizing over by here. That's why you're summing over by to get the marginal of X. Okay, that's the first thing we saw. Then we also saw like a function of two random variables. How do we compute the expectation? Then we were looking at conditioning. Okay, the conditioning idea is very similar to whatever you have learned before, the conditioning of events. Okay, so all these things are the same things that you have been learning before. There is nothing new that has happened. Now, in order to show you an application of conditioning, I'm going back to geometric random variable for a moment. Okay, so and in particular, I want to discuss what is called as the memorylessness property. So this is a very nice property a few random variables possess. Okay, and you will see a lot of applications with this. Okay. So what was the setup? So in the geometric random variable, perform an experiment. Okay, like you can think of a toss till you get a head. Okay, so probability of getting a head, we are calling it as P. Okay, and what we are measuring, what is a random variable? That is actually number of trials till a head. Okay, so this is the experiment. Now let us just let me just ask you a simple question. So you are, let's say, a captain of one particular IPL team. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to choose head. You always choose head, and what you see is you see that the same coin which you are tossing today has already been used 5 times. Okay, and in all the 5 times it has given you a tail. Okay, so now in the 6th time, the match that you are part of, you are going to call heads or tails. Now since it has been tails 5 times, how many of the class thinks that we should take that information into consideration and definitely like call for head, or does it not matter? What is the opinion? So do you think that the coin is due to give it a head? Is the question clear? So how many of the class thinks that head is a good choice, or either heads or tails is a good choice? Okay, very good. So everybody thinks it doesn't matter almost, except I think a few people. But that's. Let me try to convince it wouldn't matter. All right. So what I was saying is, so even though it has given 5 tails, it is not likely that the next one will be head or tail. That probability, if this is an unbiased coin, if it is a fair coin, right? The coins that we use in IPL is definitely unbiased, which means probability of head is equal to probability of tail is equal to 0.5. Okay. So it should not matter that, so probability that you get a head, okay, given that 5 tails have come, should still be probability of head. Okay, so that is something that it is known to you. Okay, so now similarly, we are now going to look at what is called as the this is now we are no longer in the case where P of H is equal to P of T is equal to 0.5. Okay, but we are in the case where probability of head is P. Okay, so let me just make some space over here. So now we are back to that geometric of P. And now we are looking at X, which is distributed as geometric of P. Now, what I'm saying is, you know that X, PMF of X, PX, right? So PX of X, PX of K, that means you see K trials, is 1 minus P to the power of K minus 1 times P. Okay, this is what it is. So if you draw it, it looks like, so 1 minus P, and then it has this distribution like this. Now, between each of these coin tosses, so like, okay, so this is, let me just be a little more clear. So X, and then this is PX of small x. So this is your PMF. Okay. So now what I'm trying to say is like, what do we get? So this is a PMF here, but now suppose if I tell you, I ask you what is the distribution of X minus 2. So how do we draw? So X takes the value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Now X minus 2, what values it will take? So whenever X is 1, X minus 2 will be minus 1. Okay. So this is minus 1. It can take value 0, but it is just a shifted version. Okay. So this is XP, X minus 2 of some K. Yeah, and then this is what you get. So this is easy, but now what I'm going to ask is, what is the distribution of X minus 2 given X is greater than 2? Okay. So first we will do this algebraically, and then we will try to give some meaning to it. Okay. So let's try to answer this. So this is what I'm interested to know is Px minus 2, X greater than 2 for K. So this is, what is this equal to? This is probability that X minus 2 is equal to K and X is greater than 2 divided by okay, so I think I should just take a small pause and ask if anybody has any questions so far.
Sir, what are we doing? Like, why have we shifted it to X minus 2? What's the, like?
No, what I'm telling you is like PMF, right? So we can define some new random variable Y and call it as X minus 2, and then look at PMF of Y. Is that okay? Can we do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now instead of that, I am saying what is the PMF of X minus 2 given that X is greater than 2? Is there anything wrong? Like mathematically, can't we do that? Because I have defined to you what is meant by conditional PMFs, right? It's the same idea I'm trying to apply for a particular case of geometric random variables. Why, you will see. Okay, but I just want to do it algebraically first. Siddhant, is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else has any questions? All right. So now with this, we will try to simplify this further and see how the PMF looks. Okay. So let's observe one thing. So what is probability that x is greater than 2? Okay, so this is equal to 1 minus probability that x is less than or equal to 2. Okay. Now what is that? So this is 1 minus probability that x is equal to 1 plus probability that x is equal to 2. Okay. Everybody convinced with all the steps so far?
Sir, why do we left out 0 and -1? They are also less than or equal to 2.
Very good. So, but here I'm conditioning on x greater than 2. I'm not conditioning on x minus 2 greater than 2.
Sir, no, that's not, sir. Actually, okay, sir. X has the value from 1. Okay.
Yeah, x
Got
starts
it.
only from 1. X minus 2
okay,
starts
sir.
from -1. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Good question. All right. So this is 1 minus. So p x equal to 1. This is the original geometric random variable. So this will be 1 minus this will be p, and this will be 1 minus p into p. Okay. So let's just simplify and see what we are going to get. See, I'm telling the story first algebraically, and then we will assign some meaning to it. So that is going to be 1 minus p minus p plus p squared, which is 1 minus 2p plus p squared, which is 1 minus p whole squared. Okay. So x greater than 2 is all the trials when you had two tails. Okay, so that is nothing but 1 minus p into 1 minus p. You can get this through all this calculation here as well. So we are now ready to simplify a little bit more. Okay, so we will write this as x minus 2 equal to k divided by 1 minus, I have done some change, but just wait for a moment. So here I'm going to add a condition that x when x is greater than 2. Okay. So when x is greater than 2, what does that mean? That means x minus 2. So from this x minus 2 is equal to k, right? So x is also equal to k plus 2. So when k plus 2 is greater than 2, okay, which implies k is greater than 0. So whenever k is greater than 0, you have this formulation. When k is less than 0, this will be 0. Okay, I know this is a little bit fast I have gone. So what I'm saying is, see, the numerator is whenever x is greater than 2, that is the thing, right? Two things have to happen simultaneously. X minus 2 has to be equal to k, and x has to be greater than 2. Okay. So now, whenever x is less than 2, the numerator will be 0. Okay. So otherwise, when x is greater than 2, what is x actually? If you see x minus 2 is equal to k, that also has to be simultaneously true, which means x is equal to k plus 2. Okay, so that means k plus 2 has to be greater than 2, or in other words, k is greater than 0. So whenever k is greater than 0, we have this. All right. Everybody with me so far? Somebody has a question. Let's see. Okay. Let's do a few more simplification. Whenever probability that x minus 2 is equal to k, that is also same as saying when x is equal to k plus 2. Okay. So that is when k is greater than 0, 0 otherwise. Okay, so now we are ready for the punchline. So this is, sorry, I just missed 1 minus p squared. Okay, so now we know. So now we are talking about the original random variable itself. Now we are completely talking about x. So that is, we know how to do that, right? So that is 1 minus p to the power of whatever the number minus 1. So k plus 2 minus 1, which is k plus 1, divided by k, divided by 1 minus p squared. Whenever k is greater than 0, 0 otherwise. All right. So let's do a little more simplification and we will get to the desired thing. This is going to be 1 minus p to the power of k minus 1 into p. Okay, k greater than 0, 0 otherwise. Okay, what is on the left hand side? We have completely forgotten by now. This is probability that x minus 2 given x is greater than 2, okay, of k. Is this all the steps so far clear to everybody? Yes, anybody has any questions here? Ramnath, are the steps okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So,
Sir,
So-
sorry to interrupt, sir, but I can't make sense for why you we taken that x is greater than 2, then now we have the equation for k is greater than 0. So do we have to choose from like k is equal to 1 or k is equal to
yes,
2?
yes, we have to choose
So
from
sir,
k equal to 1.
why the probabilities different from that we have from start where x was x, not x minus 2?
Yeah. So, yeah. So when x is okay, so this is this is something that you have to get used to. So when we had, so let me just write it. So y is equal to x plus 2. I'm saying, right now x takes value from 1, 2, 3, so on. Okay, but y will now take sub. Now I have done plus 2. I know it's not minus 2. So y will take value from 3, 4, 5. Okay, so what is px of what is py of y? That is nothing but probability that x plus 2 is equal to y, or in other words, this is equal to px of y minus 2. Is this okay? Can we do this? I mean, just speaking from definition, is there any mistake I have done?
Sir, you want to say that if we take y is equal to 3, the first element, so
Yeah,
the probability of y is equal to 3 is equal to x is equal to 1.
exactly.
Okay.
That's all. That's all. Okay,
Okay,
so
sir,
this
thanks.
is, yeah. So now see, all this whole calculation I have done, okay, just to see how does x minus 2 will look given that x is greater than 2. That's what we have been trying to see. Why did we go here? Because it is a very nice application of conditioning, okay, so that you can see what happens when you condition. So I'm just giving you an example of conditioning. Okay, I used whatever definitions we had and I just derived something and we finally came to this point. Okay, so this, I'm just asking to the class if there is any confusion in the algebraic steps that we have taken. Anybody has any other question? I know you don't see the point yet, but I will make the point in 5 minutes. But the algebraic steps, are they okay? All right. So I'm assuming since everyone is silent, they understand it. So yeah. So now if you observe, right, so this is nothing but, so if you really see carefully, this is nothing but, yes, anyone want to say, what is this?
Same PMF.
Yeah, same px. Yes, very good. So this is nothing but geometric random variable with p. Okay, so x minus 2, okay, given that x is greater than 2, this whole thing behaves as geometric random variable. Okay, so now this, I hope everyone can see that. So now what is going on? Why is this happening like this? So that is what we have to see next. Okay, see, the idea is, imagine that you are doing this coin toss experiment. You know, many you do this. Okay, let me not draw this. This is not a good representation. So let's say this tossing business is happening like this. Okay. So there are many times I will have to repeat till I get a head. Okay, this is our geometric random variable, right? Now, what we are saying is, so these are not fixed values. Okay, this is just a example case. So sometimes it could be even smaller. So sometimes it could be like this. Now what we are saying is, so this is, let's say, toss 1, toss 2, toss 3, toss 4, and all the way like this. Now what we are saying is, this geometric random variable has the nice property that you can completely ignore whatever tosses has happened so far. So this doesn't matter. If you are hit at this, if you come at this step and then you start observing how many more trials have to be done. So let me write that. How many more trials till head? Okay, so if you are coming on the toss 3 and you are looking at how many more trials have to be done till a head, this will also be like geometric. It doesn't matter that whether you start looking from the first or you start looking down the line. Okay, there is a case that you may not even see anything at this day. So what can happen is, you can have this head in the first place. That means you don't observe anything. Okay, but if you are observing something from day 3, okay, and you know that toss 1 is equal to toss 2 equal to tail, okay, how many more trials till head? That will behave like geometric random variable. It doesn't matter the previous history, how many tails you got. Do you see this? This is called memoryless property. So I know this is a bit hard for you to understand, but the idea is, see, every time you do a coin toss, okay, the next toss only depends upon the probability of success. It does not depend upon the previous outcomes. Okay, so on day 3, when you come and look at the trials left, okay, that is going to behave as though it is a fresh geometric random variable. That's all is the point. Yeah. So I would ask each of you to go back and check the algebra again and understand first algebraically, and then think about why this is happening. Anybody has any questions, comments? Andre? Is he here? Tushar, any comments? What's going on? There is a lot of silence. Okay. Siddhant, do you follow this argument?
To some extent, sir, not like not 100%, but I'll try, like once I'll watch this again on YouTube, like
okay,
when we upload this, I'll try my best to get full context.
Okay, so the geometric, do you follow the the algebraic steps? Is that okay?
Yeah, sir, that I do follow.
Okay.
Sir, I had this doubt that
Yeah.
what does that symbol mean? Like that symbol between geometric p and x minus 2 x. Yes,
Okay.
sir. What does this symbol mean?
Yeah, so this is called as a tilde or tilde. Okay, so what we are saying is, this entire entity on the left, it is behaving like a geometric random variable. So it is a geometric. So what we are saying is, x minus 2 given x greater than 2 is a geometric random variable. That's all it means.
Oh, okay, sir.
So if you want to read it, you can say distributed as. Okay. So yeah, any other question?
Sir, I got something that I understand from these all, that we are just like, if I am following from the day 4 and calling it a day 1.
Yes.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
Sir,
So I am
okay, sir.
following.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
logical that it will be like geometric. progress.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. So, but what can happen is that day 4, you may not have any tosses left. That can happen. But if there are tosses happening on day 4, and if you are counting day 5 as day 4 as day 1, from that day you are counting, it will behave like geometric. That's a good way to think about it.
Okay, sir. Okay.
All right.
That clears the doubt.
Okay, okay.
Sir, but essentially, what we do is like 1 minus p, 1 minus initially 1 minus p to the power k, then 1 minus p to the power k minus 1 p to the power 1. Like we go into this, like we sum up this, all this stuff, right? But the
So
moment we,
which one you're talking about? Here.
yeah,
No,
so-
here. Yeah.
so
Okay.
the geometric sense, like when we add up all this stuff, the geometric distribution, we add up all the geometric distribution. Like if we talk about geometric distribution for x equal to 5,
Mm-hmm.
we sum up everything from 1 minus p to the power k, p to the power 5 minus k, and we run it from k equal to 1 to 5, right? That's what we do.
So what you're saying, let me just write here. So you are saying probability that x is equal to 5. So this is what you are saying is equal to
1 minus p
the power of 4 into p.
what-
That's all this is, right? 1 minus p to the power of 4 to p. Correct? There is nothing, no other
Okay,
summing.
yes,
Yeah, so this is what it is. Okay, so this is the chance that when you are doing this geometric random variable, you have to wait 5 days, exactly 5 days, four tails and a head. Okay, so what is your question?
Now, sir, if for the same case, like on the above example that you've used, the 10th day we are getting the head, right?
On the above example, the 10th day we are getting a head, of course, yes.
Yeah, but if you start considering from the day 3rd, then you are getting head on the 8th day.
Yes, correct.
So in this formula, written by the blue pen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah.
If you,
I understand your question.
if you
So
consider, yeah,
so you are saying, okay, let me try to explain what you are asking. So basically, this is your original random variable x, and you saw that it is happening at x equal to 10. And now I'm saying if you come from the 3rd day, it will also be looking like x equal to 10, right? That's what you're saying, but it is not. Is that not what you're asking, Siddhant?
yes, sir. I'm asking the same. I am asking.
Yeah. Now, see, that is what. So this is a example. This is just an example. Okay. So it is not necessary that it will happen like this. It can happen sometimes. X can end here itself. Within one toss, it can end, or it can end in the second case. It can end here. Okay. But what I am saying is, when you are so this is all randoms. Okay. So you don't actually see this. So this is not necessarily how it is. You don't see, I mean, I'm not putting a cross, but I'm saying this is just an example. Okay. So this may not happen exactly like this. It can happen in this way, head or tail head. But what I'm saying is, if you are actually on the day 3, somehow your experiment has survived 2 days. Okay, your experiment has survived 2 days. So that means x is greater than 2. Okay, and your experiment has survived 2 days. And now what I'm asking is, from that day onwards, I am checking how the distribution of this quantity is. Since you have already survived 2 days, the values will start from 3, 4 and all, right? So I'm bringing it back to 1, 2 by doing x minus 2. Okay, and now I'm asking, how does this look? So I'm saying this is distributed as geometric. Siddhant, does it make your understanding any better?
Yeah, sir. Can I just repeat like what I inferred from all this? So
Yeah.
you can kind of
Sure.
finalize, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah. X minus 2 given x is greater than 2 is essentially same as x given that x is positive. Like from the like this case is same if I consider x.
Yes.
Like if I consider x, then I could have started from day 1. Now I'm using x minus 2. Then I have to that means I'm starting from the day 3.
Yeah,
That's all it means, right?
Yeah. And if you're starting from day 3, it can be the case that you never actually see any tosses because it is already over. Okay, but what I'm saying is on day 3, if your experiment is still in the progression, from that day onwards, when you count, it will behave in the same way. Basically, what it says is whatever you have seen before does not matter in the experiment. That is all it is saying. And that's why it is called as memorylessness. Okay. So I think we have, if there are any more questions, you just mail me. You can have a look at this video, and I think that will give you a good idea. So I think I will stop here. So we covered an important concept called as memorylessness. This will come again and again in the next few lectures, not immediately, but a little way down the line. Okay, so that's about it. So have a nice rest of the day. Okay, all right. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.